A whole lot of rain is on the move across parts of Kentucky out there on this Friday evening, and it's going to carry over into your weekend. I'll track all of it hour by hour coming up.
Frustration from a victim's family. Why a no-show in court has Sue Jones's children frustrated and wanting to move on with their mother's murder case.
The Department of Homeland Security is asking Kentucky to make changes to its driver's licenses. How the lack of changes could affect Kentuckians.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening on this Friday. Another rainy, chilly October day here in the Bluegrass, and it's not going anywhere just yet. We're tracking more rounds of rain for your Friday night and into the weekend.
So if you are headed out to a football game tonight, you might want to grab that umbrella. Meteorologist Jim Caldwell is tracking all this wet weather. You just need a rain suit tonight.
You need something that's got a fur lining, too, or something that'll keep you nice and warm, because we are talking about a very chilly night, an experience period anywhere you go. And you can see how active Defender is. Heavy bands of rain all the way back out just to the south of Louisville there, and continuing to work that way. It's moving toward the northwest as opposed to what we normally see. So this is two systems, 2 weeks in a row essentially, that are feeding in from the southeast. So the good news is what you see to our southeast, some holes in the coverage, and that will eventually filter into our area. I mean, just look at the one there that's now working its way into Richmond. Yes, it's very damp, very misty, but that little hole in the coverage will continue working its way toward the northwest, meaning we'll get in on some temporary drying here. Here's our forecast for this evening. The showers will continue around 7 o'clock. Temperature around 55 degrees, give or take a degree or two in some areas. More showers at 9, and then 11 o'clock chilly showers, but by this point I think that we'll see more of a scattered nature to them before the chances start to ramp up again as we cross over into your Saturday, because those chances will be back, and I will track those chances hour by hour coming up here in just a few minutes, guys.
Jim, thank you. The family says they are frustrated. Today, a man accused of killing a retired school bus driver in Scott County 5 years ago was back in court.
Nicholas Willinger is accused of beating Sue Jones to death back in 2010. But the woman who has already pled guilty in connection to this case was not in court with him. Today, Jones's family says she has not been following the terms of her bond. Our Kristen Kennedy has details in our top story at 5:30.
Nicholas Willinger appeared in court, but C.J. Jefferson didn't. The family of victim Sue Jones was visibly upset.
They need to face me. They need to see what they've done.
Gail Jones took time off work Friday to be in court to see Nicholas Willinger and C.J. Jefferson. Willinger is charged with murder, robbery, and burglary in the 2010 death of Jones's mother, retired school bus driver Sue Jones. Jefferson pleaded guilty earlier this year to complicity to commit burglary in connection with that death. As part of her bond, a judge put her under house arrest in Lexington. But Jones's family says she hasn't been following the rules. She was expected to appear in court Friday to talk about the conditions of her house arrest and the opportunity to care for and see her mother in Scott County.
It's not fair she can be with her mom and I can't. I have to go to a grave to be with my mom.
She has permission to come over and help her mother at her mother's house.
Jefferson's attorney Brent Cox told his client not to come to court Friday.
We had a meeting about it a few weeks back and on the telephone about her helping her mother and being able to do that, and the judge was okay with that, so I didn't realize it got put on the docket.
Both Jefferson and Willinger will be back in court in December. In Georgetown, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
And Jefferson's attorney says her sentencing is on hold until Willinger's case is closed. She is expected to testify during his trial.
The arraignment for a man accused of causing a deadly crash that killed a teenager has been postponed. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Scott County. A judge pushed back 33-year-old Muhammad Abdallah's hearing to next week so they could have an interpreter there to make sure that Abdallah understands the court proceedings. Abdallah is charged with manslaughter and assault. Police say he was driving recklessly in May when his car hit a pickup on Interstate 64. The crash killed 13-year-old Emily Sams of Bourbon County and seriously injured her parents. In Magoffin County, state police have identified 2 people killed in a crash yesterday. Troopers say 20-year-old Alma Elliott was driving west on Mountain Parkway when her vehicle crossed into the eastbound lane and hit another car. Elliott and her passenger, 22-year-old Kayla Allen, died at the scene. The driver of the other car was injured. Troopers say Elliott and Allen were wearing their seatbelts, and they do not believe alcohol was a factor in that crash. And in Franklin County, a former caregiver convicted of sex abuse has been sentenced to 15 years in prison. The Kentucky Attorney General's office says 23-year-old Damon Heath used to work for Community Choices Unlimited. In June, Heath agreed to a plea deal and pled guilty to sexual abuse and sodomy charges. Investigators say he admitted to sexually abusing 2 intellectually disabled adults who were in his care.
Time is running out again for Kentucky to follow a federal law that tightens security across the country. And if you have a Kentucky driver's license, you could be affected. The Real ID Act of 2005 requires a driver's license to be issued by a single state agency. But in this state, in Kentucky, court clerk offices issue them. The state was given more time last year to meet those requirements, but that extension is about to expire. New at 5:30, Victor Puente tells us what could happen if the state doesn't make the changes.
It's been in place since 2005, and the 10 years since then. Kentucky has taken some steps to follow the Real ID Act, but we're still not compliant.
What Homeland Security wants is everybody to do the same ID, have the same information.
The act requires state-issued licenses to conform to federal standards. If the licenses don't, the people using them could be barred from entering federal buildings or flying commercial airlines unless they have another form of ID, such as a passport.
That's what I hear the most about going to the airport. That's the most concern that we have.
Madison County Circuit Court Clerk Darlene Snyder says they've had a few questions, but most people seem unaware of the issue. Kentucky's Department of Transportation filed for an extension to be exempt, but that runs out in 8 days.
You know, one state does it one way and we do it another, and our driver's license offices are, ran by the circuit clerks in each county.
In September, the state requested another extension from the Department of Homeland Security, but tell us so far they haven't received an answer.
And the Real ID is a big issue right now that, is kind of like the monkey in the room, and we just need to figure out what to do with it.
For the state to become compliant, all 142 licensing offices would have to meet the security standards set forth by Homeland Security. In Madison County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Kentucky is one of more than 20 states that has been given an extension.
A crash has forced the Lexington post office to close for now. Officials tell us someone drove through the glass front of the post office on Creative Drive, damaging the customer entrance. While no one was injured, we're told it is not safe for customers and employees to use the customer entrance right now. P.O. Box customers can pick up their mail at the carrier entrance until the repairs are done. The Postal Service is asking retail customers to visit other Lexington offices. We have an update tonight on a Breathitt County Walmart damaged by a rock slide earlier this week. Store officials were hoping to open the Jackson Walmart yesterday, but crews are still trying to fill the hole in that building, so the store remains closed. Crews have not said when they hope to reopen.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety is out with its latest list of best used cars for teenagers. The Institute found bigger might be better when buying your child their first car.
He's right here. Come here, son.
Tony Iglesias and his 17-year-old son are on the hunt for a used car. Kevin will start driving next year and will need his own wheels.
It's not worth it, to spend a lot of money, for a teenager, because they don't have much experience.
Iglesias plans to spend about $5,000. While he's looking for something affordable, he also wants something safe. When it comes to used cars for teens, the latest report from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found bigger and heavier vehicles are the safest. Vehicles like the Volvo S80, Ford Taurus, and SUVs like the Ford Flex made the Institute's recommended list. The Institute found parents should look for used cars that feature electronic stability control systems, which help drivers maintain control on curves and slippery roads. The report also warned parents to avoid buying cars that have high horsepower, which may tempt teens. Kevin already has a warning from his father about speeding.
Well, I don't want to crash, not too fast. No.
You're going to go the speed limit, obviously, right?
I have to respect the law.
Vehicles on the Institute's recommended list cost under $20,000. And that annual report also found new driver courses do not boost safety for teenagers. Republican candidate for governor Matt Bevin says he will not release his personal income tax returns, but he has released some information about his finances.
And Governor Beshear is looking back at his last 8 years in office. Bill Bryant tells us what is next for Governor Beshear and the bottom line.
Good evening. Republican candidate for Governor Matt Bevin continues to say he won't release his personal income tax returns, but he has updated a financial disclosure form to reflect his involvement in a couple of companies. CN2 reporting the amended statement with the Executive Branch Ethics Commission shows Bevin is president of a company that makes bells called Bevin Brothers Manufacturing. He also managed an education software company called Academic Merit. His campaign calls the new disclosures a non-issue because Bevin had previously revealed his position with the holding company that owns both companies. His Democratic opponent, Jack Conway, has been pressing for Bevin to release his entire financial picture, including his income tax forms. Governor Steve Beshear says he is not about to wind down until he leaves office in early December, and then he says he will figure out what's next for him. Beshear has served in political office more than 20 years, but also spent 20 years in the private sector as an attorney. And he says his wife, Jane, might also have some chores ahead for him in the future.
But we're going to take a little time. I'm going to stay busy. I'll be doing something. She says I need to come to the farm to help her muck out the stalls, you know, but I told her I've been mucking the stalls out in Frankfurt for 8 years. So maybe I want to do something else. We'll see.
Beshear looks back on his 8 years in office and talks about issues still facing the Commonwealth. He also discusses the race to replace him on Kentucky Newsmakers. And we'll talk about the results of the Bluegrass poll with Herald leader political writer Sam Youngman. Kentucky Newsmakers airs Sunday morning at 6 on WKYT. It repeats Sunday at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or catch it then. State Senator Dorsey Ridley is the latest potential candidate who says he's looking at running for the 1st District congressional seat in western Kentucky. He's the first high-profile Democrat being mentioned. Republican Ag Commissioner James Comer and Michael Pape, who is an aide to retiring Congressman Ed Whitfield, say they're in. And Todd Peepool, who was the 2011 Republican nominee for Attorney General, is also looking at the race. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
Catholic churches welcome some special guests today. Many parishes are holding a blessing of the animals.
In Georgetown, many people brought their pets to a service this morning at St. Francis and John Catholic Parish. The event celebrates the feast day of St. Francis, who is the patron saint of animals.
That we celebrate today, first of all, is to remind us of the creation that God has given to us, and we are called to be a good steward. Especially animals have helped us a lot in bringing joy and peace to families.
Children from St. John Catholic School brought many of the animals that were blessed today. They included dogs, cats, and even a bunny.
Attention Powerball fans, there will be some changes to the game this weekend. Lottery officials say there will be better overall odds of winning any prize, a jump in the game's 3rd prize level, and a chance for players to multiply secondary prize winnings. And it will still cost just $2 to play. Sales of the redesigned game will begin on Sunday, and the first drawing will be on Wednesday night.